Cologne. Scrion kneels down in front of me. She's warm. She's calm.
She appears to be.
How are you doing, Cologne? Scrion asks. The restraints aren't all that comfortable, I answer. Scrion clicks easily at that.
She's always been a talented performer.
We're glad you can make it, Scrion, Para says. That almost sounded like Para. Someone surprised she could make it. I'm glad I could make it, Scrion says gently, standing tall and turning to Aster. Have you already gone over the known information? Yes, we're currently questioning her. Aster answers. Do you have any more questions, Para? It takes Para a moment to respond. We've covered the essentials, Para says. Her tone sounds emotionless again, almost dead. Para's blubber is in control again.
And you're dead.
Good work, Scrion says. She sounds proud. Where's Kame? Is there a problem on Kermapira? Para doesn't answer. She seems shaken.
Ketty as well. The power of age.
All is well on Kermapira. Kame was simply overwhelmed by the process and escorted out of the room. Aster answers. I see. I'll talk to her after this is over. Scrion promises. Now, I believe it's time to announce the verdict. You've stalled long enough, haven't you? Thank you for letting me say goodbye. Para doesn't answer.
Para,
Aster says. She's shaking. Para, Scrion says. Her clicks are soothing. Would you like someone else to announce the verdict? Para seems to freeze. The verdict is unsalvageable. Her blubber announces. Reese. That's my cue. I walk over to Cologne's side and activate the 3 crystals you gave me.
one of our many illusion-based crystals, one that can dissolve other crystals, and a crystal that can disconnect other crystal-based structures from their origin. I really shouldn't have given you that one. My clan would be furious. Even more so if they knew you used it on, well, that's a story for another time. Clone seems to have finally collected herself.
Clone steps back and folds herself back up into a human-like shape. She glows and her humanoid illusion returns. She looks fine, but I would certainly use an illusion to cover up the bags under my eyes if I could. I take her hand and lead her out of the room. That can't be, Ketty says. Why? Why is she unsalvageable? I guess the shock is starting to wear off. Ketty. Xenia starts and stops. Escort her out, Xenia, Isachia says. We're out of the room before I can hear Xenia's response. Scrion. Reese and Cologne walk past me.
It worked.
It did. Thank you, Fetus. Escort her out, Para, Isachia says. Scrion, please follow her. I wait for Para to move. She's still for a moment before she begins walking. I let her lead me out of the room. Once we're out of the room, Para's scent evens out a bit. I stay by her side and wait. Scrion. Para starts. Have you ever heard the story of Carrie? I believe so, but I can't quite recall it. I lie. She needs to talk, and I'll always be there to listen. Reese. We're in a giant snake on our way back to the ice pockets when Clone finally speaks. Thank you, she says. I owe you. You're keeping me alive. Clone laughs. It sounds a bit insane. Only after I decided not to kill you. A decision I appreciate. Blueberry could have kept you alive without me.
Obviously.
Probably, I agree. To be honest, while I have no doubt you could have, I have my doubts that you would have.
That doesn't matter now.
Clone doesn't say anything after that. Screon. Carrie was an innocent young girl who lived a peaceful life on her Aku. Para begins. A peaceful life devoted to the teachings of Fetus. She sounds lovely, I offer. She undoubtedly was. The soft creaks of Para's tail softly swaying drift across the fields. That agreement seemed absent-minded. She worked hard throughout all the seasons. Always cheerful, she was beloved by everyone on her Aku. It seemed like she had everything she could possibly want. Para pauses. It seems like everything is finally catching up with her. It does, I agree. Para's tail sways again. But she didn't. One day she met a boy she had never seen before, a boy from a different Aku. He was one of the early traders from the time before the Outlier, visiting from another Aku. She was intrigued by this mysterious stranger, and she was drawn to him. She spent time with him whenever he visited, and eventually she fell in love. Para's scent shifts a bit before she continues. The boy could only visit the Aku every so often, so she began to miss him, like anyone would. She began to wish she could spend all her time with him, like the other couples she worked with on her Aku. But it's forbidden to move from one Aku to another. I recite the law. Para's tail sways again. But eventually, her loneliness became too much. Her love became too much. She followed him anyway, breaking the law. And in their benevolence, the Blubberts allowed her to go without punishment. And in their benevolence, the Blubberts allowed her to go without punishment. Para finishes the story. It's a lovely story, I say. Para's tail sways. I suppose it is. Have you heard the story of Lorelei? I think so, but I don't quite remember it. I lie once again. Lorelei was a young girl chosen to become an Outlier. Para begins reciting the opening lines. She was called a prodigy at a young age. She performed her tasks properly and devoted herself to her people, Fetus, and the Blubberts. At least that was what they believed. Or so they thought. She continues. Unbeknownst to the people, she was secretly sparing the sacrifices she collected, hiding them away, letting her Aku and people suffer. So there was only one course of action. She was killed for her actions. Para finishes. A less lovely story, but still an important one, I say. Something about Lorelei's story always seemed odd to me. Para says. Why was Lorelei punished while Carrie wasn't? I ask. No, that's obvious. Surviving sacrifices would certainly lead to Pagos' downfall.
Lorelei was dangerous, while Carrie was ultimately harmless. A simple fool.
Para says. I sway my tail.
But she was still breaking a rule.
Kitty says as she approaches us with Xenia and Kame at her sides. Xenia is warm, but Kitty and Kame are still running a bit hot. Kitty, Kame, how are you doing? I ask.
Fine.
Kame answers. She sounds equally drained and frustrated. I touch Xenia's first limb. A quick burst of warmth reassures me she's fine. It's good to know she's okay.
I think I'm fine.
Kitty finally answers softly.
But Carrie was breaking a rule. How could she be harmless? If she was harmless, why does that rule exist? Why do only Audiobook get to travel between Akus now?
Each Aku has a limit to the number of followers they can support.
Kame answers.
Restricting travel makes it easier to prevent disasters like shortages from occurring. Carrie was also alive prior to the establishment of the Audiobook.
Xenia says.
Punishing her instead of making those necessary changes would only work for the short term, and Carrie herself wouldn't cause any problems in the future.
Kitty is still for a bit before her tail sways.
I guess that makes sense,
She says.
What was so odd about Lorelei's story, Para?
Kame asks.
The Blubberts knew instantly what Carrie had done, but that wasn't the case with Lorelei.
Para says. She's still for a moment before she continues.
I wonder if she had an elder Blubbert. Para.
Xenia says gently.
Probably.
Kame says.
It'd be nice to know what happened to her Blubbert. Kame.
Xenia scolds.
Sheeta's elder Blubbert has doomed 2 Audiobook.
Kame says.
I'd like to know the elder's fate.
I wait for Xenia's answer.
This situation is unprecedented, at least to our knowledge.
Xenia says after a moment.
I'm not sure they'll announce the elder's fate.
Stop scratching at your limbs, Kitty, I say softly, pulling her first limb down. She hasn't done that for a few seasons now. I hate to see this regression.
It's just the stress of the situation.
Screon, you'll stop by Kermapira during our next Parosea, won't you?
Kame asks. Of course, I agree. But what will you do if the elder Blubbert is still with us? Even if she isn't with us, would that make you feel any better? You still wouldn't know her fate beyond her not working with Sheeta anymore.
That's true,
she admits after a while.
If it would make them feel better, you are welcome to tell them the verdict, just not the people of Sheeta.
Thank you. I'll still stop by, of course, I assure her. Kame seems to relax a little, but she still smells defeated. Cologne.
What's next?
Enki.
What do you want to do about Reese?
What do you mean?
Normally, knowledge of the sacrifice's existence is wiped both from the species' consciousness and any of their databases that contain records of the sacrifice's existence. Do you want me to restore that information? Should we return Reese to them? And if we do that, should we wipe Reese's memory?
Why are the sacrifices we procure always sentient species with some form of recorded history? It seems the absence of that would make the sacrifice process a lot easier.
It doubles as data collection for my species.
What are you talking about?
Is everything okay, you two?
Reese asks.
You asked that last question out loud.
Great. We killed people just so the blubberts could collect information on different species, I say.
Yeah, she never told you?
Reese asks. She told you?
It came up.
Are you okay?
Reese asks. I'm fine, I answer.
You don't want to share anything else? Perhaps regarding her fate?
What did you tell her?
Nothing regarding that.
What does she need to know?
Depends.
Elaborate.
This is a dangerous path you're going down. She would be safer if you disappeared, leaving nothing, not even memories behind. But she might be a valuable asset to keep around. Your choice.
My choice.